Hello, friends. Welcome to the very first sentence of the very first episode of the very first season of Clickbait, a podcast that takes complicated internet information and it condenses it down to easily digestible dialogue for the everyday Australian. Listen, I know you care about technology. You can't hide it from me. If you're anything like the average Australian, then you're going to spend roughly $2,500 a year on tech devices. And then once you have those devices in your pocket and in your hand, at your computer desk, you spend 7 hours a day on them. But what's funny is you spend so much time, but how much do you actually think about it? How much do you really know about the devices that you basically live off of? Like, I know you care about your privacy, right? When you're at a dinner party and someone brings it up, you nod and you smile. But have you ever actually looked into it at all? Do you understand what Facebook is even doing? Or you heard of Bitcoin, you know you should care about it or have done your research, but you just write it off because it's just a little too confusing. Well, that's why I'm here. My name is Sean Szeps. I am a writer and a podcaster, and I am a veteran of the advertising industry. And I am the head of social and strategy at True Sydney. We are a creative storytelling agency right here in North Sydney, Australia. Each week, I'm going to break down for you the most relevant news that you have probably missed about the wild, crazy, uber important world of social and digital media. Then we're going to bring in a world-class expert and do our best to break down a topic for you into layman terms. So I'm going to play dumb, which should not be hard for me, and our legend of a guest is going to play super smart. Then we're going to play a fun game because, come on, this is the podcast world. Let's have some fun. We're going to keep you entertained and hopefully, you walk away feeling just a little bit smarter than you were before. Sound good? I can't hear your response, but let's just pretend it sounds good. Let's kick it off with our week in review. Okay, up first, Facebook. You've heard of them, right? The social behemoth has confirmed that they will begin testing the removal of the like count in Australia. When we originally found this piece, they were suggesting that it was going to launch next week, but we have just confirmed that people are actually already seeing it as of today. It's designed to reduce the pressure of social validation and place focus back on content. Listen, they're already doing this on Instagram. A lot of us have been impacted by it, but I don't know about you guys, but I'm happy to see it go. It hasn't had a huge impact on me. It allows us to just focus on the content we're creating, and we're not judging people based off of the success of theirs. Obviously, even though there's no official data, that Instagram removal must be paying off. So I think this is a super smart choice for Facebook, and I hope it happens quickly. Next, we're going to talk about a really divisive internet term that I had actually never heard of. It's called sad phishing. I'm really familiar with the actions. Listen, we all know young women are deeply affected by the words and actions of others, especially in high school. And so sad phishing is the act of making exaggerated claims about your emotional problems online to generate sympathy or attention. But this is actually gaining popularity now for the opposite reason than you might be thinking. So yes, it's a sad word, and yes, people do make exaggerated claims, but it's actually a more interesting topic to talk about today because the internet is just such a nasty place that when someone might be oversharing or maybe exaggerating them, it's usually because they're struggling emotionally, right? Like the people who decide to go online and word vomit how they're feeling might actually be experiencing mental health issues. So if you call them out using this term, you can potentially cause further harm. So just be careful. You know, as always, when you're chucking terms or words around, you never know how it's going to impact the other person. Okay, the next topic is coming from Amazon. Their latest payment method, are you ready for this? It uses your flesh and blood. Ooh, super creepy. That's right. Amazon is actually testing quietly at their HQ a way to identify an individual human hand as a way to ring up a store purchase. Isn't that crazy? Am I the only one that is freaking out over here? I mean, the goal is to roll this out to Whole Foods everywhere. But I think you have to really wrap your head around how much information Amazon has access to. They already know your credit card. They already know your full name. They know where you live. They know what you like. They are building deep algorithms in the back of their database that knows everything. And now they're going to know your hand size and your fingerprint. Next, they're going to be asking you for your social security number and your newest born child. So this is how the height sensor works. It's basically different than just a finger scan. You actually don't need to touch your hands to the scanning surface at all. Instead, they use computer vision and depth geometry, whatever the hell that means, to process and identify the shape and size of your hand, and then they charge your credit card. It's crazy. It's called Orville. That's the code name. They have a code name. That's how serious this shit is, guys. It's going to allow customers with Prime accounts to scan their hand ahead of time so that they can just walk in and out. How lazy can we be? So it's accurate to within 1/10,000th of 1%. So if you're worried about this, someone stealing your credit card, it's probably not going to happen. But Amazon engineers are scrambling to improve it to a millionth of 1%. Let's just move on because this is creeping me out. Topic 4. We're going to talk about your and my favorite social media app, Instagram. They are phasing out the following tab. I'm going to be completely honest with you. I've never checked the following tab, but I know a bunch of you stalkers are looking up your ex-boyfriend and seeing what he's tapping on, or your current boyfriend or your husband or your best friend. And they are just going to get rid of it. And I think it's a smart idea. Why do we need to know what other people are engaging with? What is the purpose besides stalking? I think it was originally sold as a way to discover new content that people you care about are liking, but I don't buy it anymore. So Instagram has confirmed that they're getting rid of it as a part of a test, but they just don't know when it's going to happen. So if this concerns you, if you're really into stalking, hurry up, get your stalking on because it's going to go away. And our last topic of the week is a really important one. After consulting with various experts on mental health and well-being, Instagram has announced that they will implement new restrictions on posts related to diet products and cosmetic surgery. But I don't want to give too much away because that is our subject for today's deep dive. Let's dive in. Today's guest is Lyndi Cohen. Lyndi is the resident nutritionist on Channel 9's The Today Show. She is a best-selling author and an accredited practicing dietitian and nutritionist. Lyndi used to be a compulsive yo-yo dieter, an emotional eater who opened up publicly about her struggles with clinical anxiety. When Lyndi stopped dieting and healed her relationship with food, she lost an impressive amount of weight and gained heaps of confidence. Today, Lyndi is a breath of fresh air on social media, giving a nude, this is her book, The Nude Nutritionist, view of what life is truly like, rather than the perfect Instagram shot. She's wildly popular on Instagram, especially amongst women who are fed up, and men, who are fed up with fake photographs that only promote negative body image. And she is, without a doubt, the perfect guest for our topic today. Lyndi, hi.
What a lovely intro. Thank you.
I wrote them myself.
You're fabulous.
So you're joining us today. We just so happened to have a perfect subject to talk about. And that is the fact that Instagram has announced something very exciting. This new announcement is going to prevent the circulation of posts promoting extreme weight loss products and cosmetic surgery on the app to any user under the age of 18. This is obviously a triumph for the body positivity movement and the fight against the detox and diet industry. How do you feel about this news?
Damn excited. I mean, this is fantastic,
This is a good piece of news for once.
And one of the things that you need to know is it's not just under 18. So there are special restrictions for people under 18, but actually this is across the board. So few things to know here, guys. Basically, these accounts that have been promoting this bullshit to us, things like detox teas, these extreme before and after photos that are obviously so fake, promoting cosmetic procedures. These accounts are already getting deactivated. And if you go onto some of them, you'll see that some of those images, like, these detox teas, the images are already being blurred. You can't see them. And very soon, users are going to be able to report these people who are being dickheads on the internet, to be honest.
Okay, so this new approach, this new idea, has obviously had quite a detrimental impact. We have the proof. We have data to back up. We know just from having conversations with our friends and our colleagues and our children, the impact that these types of posts, these types of advertising, the types of products have, especially on young, impressionable people. Is this something that you can relate to? Your personal experience. You've shared a lot about your past. Do you think that images and products impacted you?
Yeah, I mean, for sure. I grew up before social media.
Thank the Lord.
Thank goodness, because damn, it would be hard to do that right now. I grew up and I was obsessed with magazines. I'd buy about 10 a month. I don't know how I afforded it, to be absolutely honest, but I did. And so I would flick through these magazines, and this was my litmus test of how I was going in the world. And of course, I didn't compare. And I basically, from the time I was 10 or 11, knew that I was bigger than the other girls, started dieting, stole my mum's calorie counter book, those little tiny little things, and became obsessed. So even still to this day, I can tell you the calories in every single food there is. And by the time I was 15 and 16, I was so deeply obsessed with trying to lose weight that it took up every single ounce of my being. And because I wasn't actually underweight, no one knew that I had an eating disorder. So, you know, you say things to people that are deeply unhealthy, and I was doing deeply unhealthy things like walking to school for an hour, walking home from school for an hour, then going for a run afterwards, barely eating during the day, and then on the weekends end up binge eating because I get stuck in the cycle of restrict and good and bad. And nowadays for kids, it's so much worse. I mean, basically you have the biggest celebrities in the world who are openly endorsing cosmetic procedures, who openly promote these detox teas. Now think about this. You have these, not naming any names, but really influential.
Kim Kardashian.
Yes, and the entire clan who have millions, billions, and what's their net worth? And they're getting paid so much money per post to promote this absolute rubbish nonsense to specifically young people who are vulnerable enough to go and buy it. And it's deeply disordered and it's messed up that this could ever be allowed. And this is what's so exciting about the idea that actually maybe this is starting to change.
Yeah.
These companies are still getting to serve laxative teas to vulnerable people, which is messed up. And ultimately, they're trying to do it all glamorously. But basically sitting on the toilet and shitting your guts out, there's nothing glamorous about that.
We're going to talk about brands a little later, but what I want to talk about is influencers. Now, I'm not going to throw that name on you, even though you are by definition, because you obviously are an author, you're a nutritionist. There's so much more to you than just numbers on an Instagram page. That said, as someone who has social clout, as someone who has a loyal following, people who listen to what you have to say, is it the fault of the influencer who's just trying to make a buck? Do you think that influencers, some of us have tripped into this, right? Some people are just beautiful, get these followers, all of a sudden they're young, people are reaching out to them. Do influencers need to be trained about this? Do we need to go through a vetting process to be able to talk about brands?
Oh, wouldn't that be fantastic?
I know, I'm interested.
So what's interesting is that if you have over, I think it's 10,000 followers, you're considered a celebrity on social media. And therefore, if you are endorsing a product and you've been found to be going against whatever code of conduct there is, you can get sued and there are legal penalties for you. Unfortunately, at the moment, you have, a lot of people who'll do anything for a quick buck. It's absolutely messed up. They don't have qualifications. They'll say anything, and they're earning a lot of money. I don't think you realize many people don't realize how much influencers earn per post, per appearance. It's absolutely messed up. There should be regulations, but then again, who's going to do that apart from Instagram?
It's tricky. As someone who's worked in social for my whole career, I've always been shocked because I understand the laws, I understand the rules, I understand that in most countries there is a focus and priority on ensuring that influencers say when it's sponsored, say when it's an ad, so that their consumers have the right to understand that this actually isn't 100% their authentic words. That being said, if I do believe in a product, if I am working my ass off to lose a bunch of weight, and I'm keto, for example, and there's a keto fit product out there that I believe in, there also, I believe, should be some specific warning that influencers are forced to give us as followers.
There's the potential
for harm, right? We have to on television ads.
What about this? Let's say if I'm an influencer and I post a photo, I have to be like, all right, so it took me 124 photos to get this exact photo. I picked it as it's my favorite. Then I upped the lighting, edited the shit out of it, and then I Photoshop myself. Yeah. Now I'm uploading it here just casually, like this is just another day.
Yes,
what if every post had to have a disclaimer like that? And that's just the basics, right? We know that's happening all the time, but we can't see it, let alone these products. And, they're not even the ones that you're getting paid to promote. Sometimes there are people who are just spewing misinformation because they genuinely believe in it, and they do have responsibility, even though they have no qualifications or no governing board like someone like people like I do. I reckon someone's got to hold them accountable.
I love it.
I like to think that, perhaps it's people like me who's going to start stepping up and holding people like that accountable, because I'm sick of it and someone's got to do something, and it's got to get done.
Yes, girl. I have noticed a big trend, and I am only paying attention to what's happening in Australia, but when you're a part of this influencer space, you start to meet a lot of other people, and brutal honesty, authenticity is making their waves, especially in this market. I look at even your last 3 posts that you have put out onto the world on Instagram, and you start right off with brutal honesty, like a swear word, this is my truth, and it's not all peachy keen. Life is not beautiful and polished like the beautiful cover on your book. And if your followers get used to that, and they know that they get that from you, when they see just a beautiful picture of a model on their feed with a sunshine emoji, hopefully over time, they're going to realize that lack of depth is actually not what they're looking for.
Yeah, and I think it's so interesting for us as humans. I think we have this idea that if I turn up being perfect, if I turn up being this like lovely, perfect version of myself, that people will like me more. That's not what ends up happening. In fact, what happens is we feel more disconnected from everyone else. Yeah. People see us and they think, oh, they're on a pedestal, I can't be like them. But when we strip back the bullshit, the layers, and we actually turn up as ourselves, people feel relatable. We feel like we're closer to each other, and we feel like, thank goodness someone else is being real, because I'm not perfect either, and suddenly we all feel like we can be ourselves. So I think if that's the message that people start to get, then we're going to get change, because it's not just influencers then. It's the people who are going, I don't want this content, like you were saying, and the content that I want to absorb is real stuff and the honesty.
I think authenticity, you've touched on a really interesting point. This isn't an influencer conversation. This is a human conversation.
Yes.
We used to have an offline and an online identity, right? The platform was divided. How you behaved with your friends could be quite different than how you presented yourself. But over time, that's kind of blurred. People expect, and this is just an everyday Aussie who has their social media platform, that if you post that you had an amazing time at a concert, then you had an amazing time at the concert. And if they see you at work the next day and you say it was shit, you're going to be judged for that. Your character, you get defined as being the liar. And so I just wish, and anyone listening can just, every single post that goes out, like, is this authentic to who you really are, or are you presenting something that you're not? Because at the end of the day, when social media is gone, because it might be one day, and you're 60 years old and you're sitting on your rocking chair out in the front of your house and you turn to your partner, what do you want to be remembered as? Who do you want to be remembered as?
Well, here's something a little bit crazier even. You're going to die one day. I'm going to die one day. Everyone listening, you're going to die one day. And so when you're gone and no one remembers you, do you want to have lived the life that you really wanted, or are you going to want to have lived the life that everyone else wanted you to? You know, one of the main regrets of the dying is that they didn't have the bravery to live the life that they really wanted. And sometimes I feel like that social media game, we're just chasing this life that other people think we're meant to be having, and we're not feeling brave enough to go out there and say it how it is, or be honest, or be miserable, or whatever it is.
Okay. I'm going to I want some honesty from you. What are some ways that you can prevent feeling like shit online? Do you have any answers? Because I mean, if you're listening, you're like, damn, this is a shitty world. Social media sucks. Maybe I shouldn't be on the platform. What's your overall feeling?
I mean, there's a bit of that, to be honest. It's ironic to me that I basically teach people how to, have good mental health while at the same time doing it all from social media.
Yeah.
But I do think that social media can be this really strong, community-driven, activist kind of space where you're creating positive change. So it's about unfollowing those people who make you feel crap, following the ones who do. Don't sleep with your phone next to your bed so that you wake up in the morning, it's the first thing you look at or the last thing you go to sleep at night thinking about. Limit your social media time. The other thing that I have been thinking about recently is the whole idea of confirmation bias.
Yeah.
Basically what happens on social media is we just end up following people who agree with everything that we agree with. And so we become more and more siloed into these belief systems instead of becoming united as a group. We're just becoming quite divisive, right?
Yeah.
Like right now it's like you're either body positive or you're trying to lose weight, and there's no like middle ground. And so you have these, a lot of room for negotiation or at least being unified, and we don't have that anymore. And I think that's kind of the problem. So right now there was a point where I was like, unfollow those people who you don't like, but also I'm kind of wondering now, do we need to be aware of what's happening? And
I love that.
not just follow people who endorse what we're saying. Otherwise, is there ever really any growth?
I think the biggest issue in America, the UK, and Australia, probably everywhere, but those three countries in particular, is us versus them.
Yes.
Democrats versus Republicans, liberals versus Labor.
Yeah.
And my husband keeps saying, make debate healthy again. That's like a tagline for him because he is shocked that we can't have intellectual conversations with people that we disagree with. I love the idea. I think what I'm going to do today, and maybe y'all should do it too, is go onto your Instagram and just follow some people that you disagree with. And then be prepared to have authentic, nice conversations.
Yeah.
It's possible.
Or an emotional response to it, and you might get angry, and you might, but then become curious about that. Why does it make you angry? What's the result there? Deep growth stuff there happening on social media, my friends.
Ooh, I love it. Okay, brilliant. Thank you for your perspective. I'm definitely smarter than I was 5 minutes ago. Now we're going to dive into something called data dump. Here's how it's going to work. I'm going to read you a bunch of sentences. These sentences are from a brand new Google study that's about food delivery. Do you use food delivery? Do you have an experience with food delivery, maybe personally, professionally?
I have a program which
There we
links
go.
in with Woolworths.
Tell us about it.
Click a button and then get all the recipes from the program to your Woolworths card and gets delivered, or Tesco if you're in the UK, or Walmart in the US. So wherever you are, you can kind of basically, it's the kind of an integration. So I think it's a really interesting space, and I'm keen to hear more.
Maybe you'll do well. So I'm going to give you 4 different percentages, and you have to guess which one is correct.
Okay.
We'll laugh, we'll cry, I'll judge you if you get them wrong. It's going to be amazing.
Fabulous.
Okay, so searches for food near me have grown what percentage in the last year? It is either 7%, small, 14%, medium size, 51, about half, or 97%.
97%.
Girl, you got it right.
Man, it scares me. I'm all about cooking skills, and basically it's just a whole lot of food delivery going on.
I always like to give people the benefit of the doubt, and I know how complicated and difficult it can be.
It's hard,
I know,
man.
especially when you have kids or a busy job and you're balancing your partner. But I was hopeful that number would be a little bit smaller, honestly. Like, I guess they don't make it they make it super easy. That's actually the problem on our phone to have it all right there.
And how expensive is that, getting takeaway every single night?
If you look at my receipts, girl.
Seriously, by the time you get a chance to make a 20-minute recipe, Kevin, the delivery guy, hasn't even put on his helmet to come and bring you your food yet.
Yeah.
So this is like this myth that you get the food quicker.
No.
It's just 20 minutes of your time. Get it done. The food's going to be on the table, ready to go. It's all good.
Love it. Okay. So even though that's true, what percentage of takeout and delivery related searches are generic? So people actually go in having no idea what they actually want to eat, which is kind of telling about our psyche. Do you think it's 5%, really, really small, 50, 61%, or 100% of people are searching generically when they go to get their food each day?
Oh, I'm gonna take a position here and go 100%.
Oh, so close.
Oh, it was
so close, 61.
Yes.
But you know what?
Because there's choice paralysis,
Yeah.
right? So people can't. They just like.
It was
being told what
shocking to me
do.
that most people go in,
No
which
idea.
have no idea. And I'm sure on your journey to being as healthy as you can possibly be, you must think that organizing and planning and having structure in place so that you know what you're going to make that night makes things a little bit easier. Is that right?
Absolutely.
Okay.
You know it.
Okay.
And I think, for people that they're just kind of going, oh, impress me, as opposed to trying to take control over it. Because it's, after having 100 choices to make each day, you come home after work and it's the last thing you want to think about. I get that.
Okay, question number 3. What percentage of survey respondents say food delivery apps are their go-to source for ordering food? Rather, which I think is an interesting trend, just going to the restaurant like we used to, like having a relationship with your local restaurant, giving them a phone call, God forbid you talk to a person. So it's either 7%, 19%, 79%, or 99% of respondents are saying food delivery apps are their go-to source.
79?
Yes, girl.
Yeah.
Guess that number.
Man, because it's terrifying, and I know it's terrifying, so I'm just going with the terrifying answers here.
I mean, it's tricky. When I saw that number for the first time, I thought to myself, when I was younger, I grew up in a really small town. You had to get food, there was no food delivery, so let me just throw that out there. And not because it didn't exist yet, but because the nearest food to me was 30 minutes. Yeah. So one, you cook more food because it's there. We live in cities, so that's a little more complicated. But when you have a relationship to the people who are making your food, when you know the restaurant owners, when you walk in, when you establish that relationship, you're probably more likely over time to ask questions, to talk to them about what's really good. So if you're going to go down that path, I beg of you, just pick up the phone, talk to them. See.
And guys, I got to say, you just quickly, everyone always asks me, all right, how do I make a healthy choice when I eat out? And you can, and you should. However, even if you make the healthiest choice, let's say you get a stir fry from like a Thai restaurant, it's still not going to be as healthy as something that you cook by yourself. It can't be, it won't be. So yes, you can still be making these healthy choices, but ultimately you got to understand that there is that compromise there.
Yeah, if you don't have any idea what's in the sauce, there's probably a bunch of sugar in it. From your Thai restaurants.
Sort of everything.
Okay, what percentage of people, last question, are not loyal to brands? So they don't actually order from the same place every single time. So it's either really small for 34%, 70%, or 93%.
34.
Oh, 70. 70% of people order from a different restaurant every single time. I think 2 questions ago you tapped into something like we're going in blindly, we're being swayed by pretty pictures, we're allowing our temptations to take us over. And it reminds me a little bit of just like the Netflix, just you're lost. You're just like allowing the algorithms to feed you instead of setting out each week and saying, what do I want? What do I really like?
Isn't that a bit scary in terms of how much power you end up giving to marketing, to advertising, to the algorithm?
Yep. You cannot ignore the fact that you are falling into a trap the moment you log into any of those apps. Most people are even completely unaware that menu logs and the Uber Eats of the world, that a lot of those are ads that you're seeing because it's just so small and you don't think, why would I be serving an ad right now? But that's true. People are paying to get the food in front of you, so you're more likely to purchase them. And something that I think is really important for people who aren't aware is that oftentimes those restaurants are not getting a lot of money at all. The good old-fashioned go and sit down and get out of your house is dying, and the restaurants are only making 30% in some cases.
Yeah. And then the delivery person isn't getting, I've heard that they don't even get paid minimum wage because they're basically treated as consultants. So contractors, whatever it is.
Not ideal. Okay, so I get a lot of food delivery. I would love to be a lot healthier. Yeah. Just give me your go-to 2 simple tricks for someone who complains he's too busy to cook.
Cool. Is this for making a healthy takeaway or is this for cooking at home?
Cooking at home. I want to go down the cooking. How can I be more likely to cook at home?
Okay, cool. You got to make it dead easy. So one thing I always love, it's called pantry heroes. Basically, you got to have a whole range of stuff on hand and make it really easy. Things like don't poo-poo the eggs. Like a good old omelet with, let's say you've got frozen peas, add some peas in. You can make a 1-pot pantry pasta with tomatoes and just go to town with all the veggies. So number 1 is just having those things at home. So when you go to the fridge, you're like, oh, there's nothing to eat. Actually, there's heaps to eat. Yeah. And you can make a whole lot of easy, healthy choices in 5, 10, 20 minutes. It's all doable. The next thing you got to do is do not focus on the things you cannot eat. Everyone does this. They go, okay, well, I can't have sugar. I can't have carbohydrates. I can't have blah, 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 blah. You know what that does? It makes you obsessed with those things. And it distracts you because you don't know how much sugar is in something. You don't know how much salt. You'll never know. But what you do know is how much veg is in something. And I know you're not eating enough vegetables. I don't know what you're eating, but only 2% of Australians are eating enough fruit and enough vegetables. So I'm going to take the guess and say you're not one of them.
I'm definitely one of them.
And so you are not eating enough vegetables. Everyone here can eat another serve of vegetables. You should be aiming for 5 a day minimum. This is not the maximum amount every single day. A serve of veg is the size of your fist. So how about we stop focusing on the things we can't eat and start crowding in more of this healthy stuff? If you choose a thing with more vegetables, it's a healthier option.
Yes.
I don't even know what it is, but I can guarantee you it's healthier.
Love it. Okay, before you go, I like to end each episode with my biggest internet obsession of the week. This is a digital and social media show. I'm putting you on the spot. I'd love to know, what are you obsessed with this week in the digital social world?
I am obsessed with not being on social media.
Oh, good answer.
Oh, it's delicious. I sink
How do you do it? Do you really do it?
I do it, and I love it. And it's almost hard. I'm addicted to not being on it, which is ironic because it's my job. It's my job to turn up, and I kind of see it as my responsibility. But man, when my anxiety gets really bad, like this week, I swear I was just like a bit fetal positioned. I just can't even go on social media. So
I would love I've stopped sleeping with my phone.
Oh, great.
In my bedroom.
Oh, great.
I'm on day 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. And my husband and I have been talking a lot more. You're just like not sitting there on your phone. I read a book last night.
Fabulous.
Didn't even know I knew how to read. It was amazing.
What's your obsession?
My obsession this week is an app called Kinder or Cinder. It's basically Tinder for your contacts in your phone. So I've been really focused on how to like declutter my life. And I realized when I just got the new iPhone that there were people in there that I didn't know.
Yeah, like Joe Thailand from like 2011.
The delivery from my university,
Stuff.
hallway and ex-boyfriends. And so I thought, you know what? I'm just going to, for the purpose of, it's not like it takes up a lot of space.
No.
But clutter down. It also was a nice little trip down memory lane. And I feel like all of the apps in my phone, I get lost in sometimes for the wrong reasons, usually for the wrong reasons. But something about this app made me feel like I was like kind of doing good. And yet it's very addictive because it's that Tinder mentality of I know this person and I don't. And now I'm choosing who is in my phone, who I talk to. And I've also reached out to 2 people that I haven't talked to in like 10 years because I saw their number and thought, oh my God, why not?
I mean, this is what technology is meant to be about. Look at you.
I know. I'm feeling good about this.
Paving the way for all of us.
Lyndi, thank you so much for joining me today.
Thanks for chatting.
It was a pleasure. You can find Lyndi on Instagram at nude_nutritionist. You can find me on Instagram at Sean Szeps. That's our show. We will see you next week. And in the meantime, don't fall for clickbait unless it's ours. This show is a True Originals production. Clickbait is produced by Lily Brown, Olivia Sloan, and me. This week, our episode was shot and edited by Dan Allen. Brand identity was made by Tiffany Han. Music was mixed and designed by Olivia Sloan. Social media content was created and written by Tiffany Han and Taylor Barnes. And our fearless leader, Eric Stevens, oversees the entire show. And a big special thank you to Lyndi Cohen for being our guest.